Business Insights on Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson.
Have you ever thought about training with an AI voice? Now, voice AI is artificial intelligence that understands and responds to spoken language in real time, making it ideal for hands-free environments like factories or fieldwork. My next guest, Derek Crager, is going to be discussing how voice AI turns every task into a training opportunity, why traditional training fails, and how voice AI democratizes expertise across your workforce. Derek is the founder of Practical AI and the creator of Pocket Mentor, the world's first voice-based AI mentor with hands-free real-time industrial support. He's a veteran in industrial reliability and training and draws on his neurodivergence, his autism, his ADHD and dyslexia as a strategic edge in pattern recognition and human-centered AI design. Through Practical AI, Derek helps companies close the skills gap by turning tribal knowledge into voice-guided support employees can access at any time. With just a phone call, no app, no login, Pocket Mentor enables technicians to troubleshoot, install, and repair systems on the job. Derek's mission is to simplify AI, empower workers, and scale expertise without increasing headcount. His work sits at the intersection of digital transformation and real-world productivity, helping teams work smarter, learn faster, and serve customers better, no matter who's on shift. Derek, it is such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for joining me here on Talking with the Experts.
Well, thank you, Rose. It's a pleasure, and I'm grateful for the invitation.
So, Derek, tell me about why Pocket Mentor is such an advantage for business owners and what prompted you to come up with the idea.
Well, my experience in life, Rose, is that humans can accomplish anything in life if they have the right answer at the right time. And that doesn't mean that, hey, we got a library back here in the back that you can go check out, because that takes the human, whether it is on a professional employment or just in themselves, out of what they're doing. And then they have to walk back and they're shifting gears. And now, we're just humans. So I like the idea of that phone a friend concept. I loved it on the game show, and I just like having a friend. I mean, I think we all like having friends, especially those that are knowledgeable. So that's where I designed Pocket Mentor. It's an AI, but I want to share that it's not AI that thinks for the human. It's AI that thinks with the human. So we can call it tapping the industrial easy button, right? We just have these earbuds. We just, do a tap, and Pocket Mentor comes on with something, fun, like, "Hi, I'm Mike with Pocket Mentor. How can I help you today?" And then you just jump right into it. You talk to him or her as if it's a friend, and you say, "Hey, Mike, I'm doing this thing," and it could be maybe changing the toner in the printer that we do once a year. We don't have to memorize that, right? Or it could be in an industrial setting where an electrician is looking to diagnose a electrical motor that they've never diagnosed before. They know the safety process. They know how to keep safe and keep others safe, but they forgot the steps. So they just tap that easy button and they say, "Hey, I'm here on this machine and it's a 480 volt motor and I have this error code." So in response, conversationally, it's like, "Hey, yeah, let me walk you through that, Derek, and start here, start there. Oh, that error code tells you this." And now it's just like a human. And then I get there, I say, "Well, wait a minute. I know the manual said there's supposed to be 3 wires, but there's actually 4. What's going on?" "Oh, no worries. You probably have the version 1.2a instead of 1.2 on its own." So if we were looking at this in a manual, we'd be sitting here and just shaking our head, because we'd be sitting in a room by ourselves and just looking at this manual, trying to figure out the answer when the answer is not in the manual. Because I'll let you in a little secret, Rose. These machines don't read the manuals like we're supposed to, right? Those SOPs and all that. So that's the concept. That's how it came about, is just having that friendly voice that makes sure that we're never alone.
Yeah, it's a great concept. I mean, when I was used to go and search ships and things once upon a time, um, it would have been handy just then to say, well, I'm not quite sure about this. What are your thoughts? So, yeah, it would have been a great little concept to have back in the day. But how can voice AI, how can it turn every task into a training opportunity?
Well, there's a 70-20-10 training outline or philosophy that was started at North Carolina University. And what it states is that 70% of all learning happens on the job. 20% of all learning actually happens in between jobs when we're talking with coworkers, peers, and then 10%, which is just like, gosh, 1 hour out of 10, right? That's when we learn through the traditional methods. And traditional methods are, we sit in a workshop, we read a book, we do homework, call it whatever you like, but these are the traditional methods. So the way Pocket Mentor comes in and supports that training all day long through all 100% is that you don't have to carry around a textbook. It's great if you read the textbook, that way you have a background on it. But when you're on the job, and it could be a white collar job, it can be a blue collar trades job, a frontline worker's job. But when we're working, we generally have our hands busy, right? And our eyes busy because we're looking at what we're working on. And if we have to stop and pick up a tablet to read a PDF or a paper manual to read, that means we're taken out of that inertia. We can no longer fix or do or iterate in our task. And that makes us as humans feel a little bit depleted. I really wanted to accomplish something instead of just reading books all day long. So that's where really any topic at all, if there's a mentor, if you can picture calling a friend, calling a teacher, calling a professor, calling an instructor and saying, hey, you've done this before. Can you talk me through it? Well, in that same instance, we take an imprint of that subject matter expert, and this digital imprint is how we interface with the human through AI. And once again, I want to state, we're not using AI to think for the person. We're using AI to soundboard with that person to do more than, read the steps 1, 2, 3, 4. We're looking to solve root cause analysis or diagnostics, and to get to the root of the problem when the manuals don't have an answer.
Yeah, and that's can be quite a challenge too. When you read the manual back to front, you think you've memorized everything, and then you come up with a problem that you can't solve because it's not in the manual. As much as you search and search, you can't find the solution. So that sounds really great to be able to do that. Derek, why does traditional training fail, and how does voice AI fix that?
Well, traditional training, there's a something called the forgetting curve. It was scientist Ebbinghaus came up with it in the late 1800s, and he did some studies, and he said, okay, we learn, right? We have a book, we read. Today, we watch videos or listen to podcasts, right, to learn. But as soon as that learning stops, kind of like we take the foot off the gas. What happens in our car when we take the foot off the gas? Right? We slow down. And that's what our brains do. Our brain slows down. And Ebbinghaus demonstrated that 50% or half of everything that we learn, we forget within 20 minutes. It seems outlandish, but it's true, right? And when we're starting something new, the best thing that we can have is a friend. And that phone a friend instance is what we give using this AI Pocket Mentor voice first technology. And it's scalable, and that's really the benefit here. We could probably, as companies, hire a mentor for every employee we have. But realistically, economically, that would be doubling our workforce, doubling our responsibilities, and their only job would be to answer questions right there and then. But it's not scalable, right? I even me hearing me talk through it, that's kind of silly, Derek. Well, it is kind of silly, and I want to iterate as well that we're not looking to replace traditional training. Traditional training is what gives that foundation, but we're looking to be there with just-in-time knowledge that can support that worker, to support that employee, that human in their moment of need. And there's a side benefit here too. Humans, according to the New England Journal of Medicine, they have a research that says humans would rather talk to AI than talk to a human, because when me as a human ask another human a question, now I'm at a place of fear of being judged.
Yeah.
And that just compounds anxiety if we're new to a workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. I was just going to finish your sentence for you because that's how I would feel, that they're being a little bit judgy because, you should know that. And, you don't. You might know it in the back of your brain somewhere, but it's been lost. And, to try and figure it out would take a long time when you don't have that time. Derek, how can voice AI democratize expertise across the workforce?
Well, that's the real goal here. In many companies, there is usually somebody that is the go-to person. I've got a guy, I've got a gal, I've got somebody to answer that question. Just let me check with them. But if it's one person on a team of two, maybe that's not so bad. But if it's one person on a team of 10 or 50, waiting for that person to clock in for the day or come in from the weekend or come in from their vacation to ask them the question to solve the problem for us, well, that's just problematic. So the democratization comes in is where we take the information that is out there, everything that everybody should know. And that's where we're at. We're all in a different state of learning. And somebody that's been doing a job for 30 years, of course, they're going to be experts at it. They've been doing it for 30 years. But if we can, and we can, that's what we do at Pocket Mentor, we document all that knowledge, and it's the knowledge from the SOPs, the operations manuals, the maintenance manuals, and we even document that what's been called tribal knowledge or institutional knowledge that's undocumented. We document that from the best people on your team so they can take their vacations. They can have their weekends without carrying the phone with them, because now that information is available through, just tap the button on our earpiece. We hit that easy button. And instead of asking Jim or Janet, hey, it's 2 a.m., and I'm answering the phone, so it's my fault too, but how can I help you? So instead of doing that, which still isn't scalable, even if they're willing to answer the phone after midnight. They tap a button, and companies for pennies on the dollar can distribute that expertise to everybody on their team and make everybody a valuable and productive employee.
I know AI is not perfect, and I know it can only do what data is entered into it. What happens when there's a step missed or the AI can't answer the question?
Well, that's a great question right there, because there's AI in the wild that we hear about, that hallucinations. People mention that is just giving me the wrong answer. So the way we build it inside a box, and by definition, that's all AI can do is operate inside a box, because we're the humans who built it. So in order to raise the caliber and the quality of that instruction, that knowledge set, we put that knowledge into a box and we don't let the AI out. The AI is like a genie in a bottle, and it's going to access the information that the company has authorized, that the subject matter experts at the company have authorized, that say, hey, this is the way we do things. There might be 3 different ways of doing something, but this is the safest and the most efficient. So that's the only answer that we're going to give. Now, there will come a time when somebody asks a question that's not on the topic of what the knowledge is in that box, and it will say, we program it that way to say, you know what, that's a topic I'm not familiar with. And that could be something like in the industrial setting, if they're talking and diagnosing an electrical problem, and then just out of the blue, the user says, hey, I have this pneumatic valve that's stuck. Can Can you talk me through fixing this? Well, that's where I say no, because I'm an electrical subject matter expert, not a pneumatic. And in that instance, it's just like pulling another book off the shelf. We go to books because has specific knowledge, but we don't expect one book to have all the knowledge. So we design one pocket mentor, two pocket mentors. Now I feel a little bit like Sesame Street. Three pocket mentors.
Okay, so you only carry the one pocket mentor with you at all, or do you carry all three?
Well, that's the neat thing about ones and zeros in this digital world is that Pocket Mentor, we utilize a mobile phone to get access to it. And that mobile phone has access to everything that's on the phone and everything in the world. So let's say in that industrial setting again, there's a QR code on line one that tells the frontline workers everything about line one, and a separate QR code on line two and a third QR code on line three. So as a worker, we can just go in there and tap the speed button to automatically connect, because it could be mobile phones, it could be phones on the wall, it could be a web browser that we're just tapping a button, but it still comes through this voice setting. So we're going to be accessing the knowledge that we need for that specific instance. So, could there be three pocket mentors, 5, 50, 500? Absolutely. And each company has access to all of those, but we make it simple so the employee does not need to think. They just go over and they scan the NFC or they scan the QR code, or they just pick up the phone on the wall that's pre-programmed to dial that specific subject matter expert, and then they get the answer that's specific to that line or that operation.
Oh, wonderful. So you're not really carrying a device, you're just wearing earbuds.
Yes, yes.
Wow, that's exciting. That is exciting. And how many companies have taken up your device?
Well, not nearly enough, let me tell you that. It's we're working right now with 18 different companies, and we start out, the typical process is start on a pilot, where it's a get to know you scenario, because there's new technology involved, and anytime there's new technology involved, there's this human factor. This change management is what leadership training talks about it. If there's any change at all, humans just say no. There's other humans that say yes, I embrace it. And then when you throw the word AI in, there's that extra wall that we put up, rightfully so, because it is something new. But it's that change process to begin with that slows people down on the adoption. So we're here to share that try a pilot, work through it, and if AI is not the right solution for a problem, then we'll tell you that too. But again, I want to emphasize that we are not using AI to think for the person. We're using AI to think with the person and really augment them to the training. So that makes it more receptive.
Yeah, I agree. I think AI, but most people imagine it as you put in a prompt and it will think for you. But if it's working with you, then it can only be a benefit.
Yeah, 100%. I know MIT a couple months ago released I don't know if it was a blog post or an article, but MIT, the school in North America, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, they were talking about the dumbing down of students that use, and this is what made the headlines 2 and 3 years ago, is that students would type in a subject into ChatGPT and say, give me a report or give me a book report, or a thesis, etc., and then it would spit it out. So in this instance, in that example rather, the student would copy, paste, and they're done. So the knowledge never actually goes through their brain. So the benefit here with voice technology is that they have to learn it as they're using it, because just like you and I are having a conversation now, everything that I hear you say goes into my brain. And if I was just going to transcribe it myself manually, it would have to go through my brain. I would have to understand it before, right, it allowed to go out to down my arm, into my hand, into a writing instrument that will allow me to write it out. So that's another advantage, a built-in advantage of using the voice interface, is that the person using it, their brain has to work because it's a two-way conversation. It's not a copy and paste, and that's the bonus.
Yeah, it has to be understood, doesn't it? And that's really important in the fact that they're learning at the same time as they're doing.
Correct.
If you want to reach out to Derek, you can find him on LinkedIn at Amazon Leadership, on his website at www.practicalai.app, Pocket Mentor Extending, and Neuro Companion Support. And do you have a traditional training that you want to gift our listeners today?
You say a traditional training?
Yeah, why traditional training?
Oh, we might have had a miscue on that, but no. Well, actually, as far as a statement, the advice that I give is that identify the gaps that you have on your team and address those gaps, and find out what the reasoning, the root causes that. Don't just throw more and more training at your employees just because they didn't get the first batch. Because if they didn't get the first batch, they're not going to get the second and third. And so spend as much time paring down your training to remove what is no longer needed as you do, acting responsible to make sure they have the right training in their hands. That's just as.
Yeah, it's a bit like going to university. If you miss the first lecture, don't bother going to the second or third because you've missed the fundamentals.
Fundamentals are important.
Absolutely. Derek, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing, and really good luck with your app.
Thank you, Rose, and thank you to all your listeners. You have a great program. I hope that you go on forever.
Thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye for now.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts with Rose Davidson, the podcast that brings you real stories, bold insights, and strategies that work. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube or your favourite podcast channel so you never miss an episode, and dive into our full library anytime at talkingwiththeexperts.com. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep talking with the experts.